Now, what we're going to do today is talk about the evolution of the CPA exam. But in case y'all were expecting me to come up here and talk about statement of cash flows, internal rate of return, Section 179, COSO, corporate governance, supply and demand, corporations, partnerships, LLCs, not doing that because I don't want y'all to fall asleep. We know that content can be dry. We know it can be complex. So we know that the technical component of the CPA exam is critical to your success. We know that those things I mentioned and many more are the things that you need to be knowledgeable of before you go sit in front of that computer. What I'm here to talk to you about today is a component that's often overlooked, and that's the mental fortitude when it comes to embarking on this CPA journey. And I've tutored a lot of students and helped them prepare for the CPA exam in a manner that encourages them to think. Okay? And I say that because I'm trying to practice my speech, wash the dishes, cook taco salad, conversate with the baby that's in the bathtub, and see what's happening on Sports Center all at the same time. Yes, I'm fixing taco salad. What are you doing? I'm practicing for something. So I want to talk today about another critical, but often overlooked aspect of the CPA exam. And it's a lot of times comes down to the soft skills. No, I don't want to call them soft skills. It comes down to the mental fortitude that's necessary to be successful on the exam, during that process, and after. A lot of people, myself included, when you finally finish those exams, which are a grind, you celebrate. You're ecstatic that it's over. This is the end. Finally, I'm done. When the truth is, it's the beginning. It's the beginning of you elevating yourself to become an expert in our industry, in our field. And that doesn't mean that you have to get a 99 on every section. Kudos to those of you that did, that will. But there's a mental component, an emotional aspect that we need to discuss. Because I find that a lot of times when candidates are stressed out about the exam, they are Anxious because the exam date is here, it's a day or two away. They mess up on a practice exam and they freak out and say, I'm not ready. I got to postpone my test. I need more time. It's not making sense. And I've tutored some candidates where I'm like, this person is pretty smart, but the self-doubt will overtake every positive thought of confidence that you ever had leading up to this point. Most of my students do one or two sessions a week. And we'll start anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks before their exam. And we're going along each week talking about different topics that they're struggling with, and I give them some study tactics and ways to approach answering the questions. We do a recap. I send them a recap after each session just to say, this is what we discussed. These were your problem areas. Here are my action items for what you need to study between now and the next session. And they're good with that. We go on to the next section and we repeat that all over again. Whatever topics they're struggling with, that's what we dig into. We do some practice questions, some multiple choice, some simulations, some written communications in the case of BEC. And we're plugging along. A week, 3-4 days before the exam. It's not making sense. I don't get it. I'm not ready. I'm going to reschedule my exam. So I make it a point to move away from the technical. So with each time a student gets a session with me, we also talk about readiness. And I mean readiness from the standpoint of, don't let your emotions consume you, because you're going to feel every emotion on that spectrum. Feeling fantastic when score release is good to you. Feeling nervous as you're walking into the testing center. Feeling relieved when you walk out of the testing center. Feeling anxious and nervous for those couple weeks between your exam date and score release. Feeling defeated. When you get that 74. It's a barrage of emotions that anybody, regardless of your profession, it's a lot to take in. So even after we talk about internal controls and taxes and balance sheets, we're going to talk about, how are you feeling? What's stopping you from feeling your best? Might be too much going on at work. You're stressed out at home because you can't study with a baby pulling at your leg. You can't study like you want to at home. It can be a lot of different things. The important thing is to deal with those issues head on so that you don't walk into your BEC exam and have to take a 3 to 4 minute break to gather yourself like I had to. Walking into that exam, and I saw a question I didn't recognize. Okay, I didn't remember seeing this on the practice test. Because you get comfortable with the content on the practice test. And then when you see something outside of that, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't see this. I don't know. This whole test is doomed. I only made it to number 3. This is hard. I'm not going to be able to do that. And then you just start talking yourself out of it. And that anxiety follows you for the duration of the exam. So now you walked out knowing you didn't do your best. Not because you didn't know it, because you were mentally blocked by your own self-doubt. Well, I think I know how to calculate this ratio, but I don't know if that's 100% right. So let me try something else. You start discounting your own ability. And that's actually what it is that causes people like me to spend 1,373 days. Could have did it in far less time. When I got to the point where it was all or nothing. I had credit for reg, for B, C, for art. My options were take FAR, pass FAR, and I'm done. Take FAR, fail FAR, I'm going to lose audit, I'm going to lose B, C. So I'm left with reg, and I have to retake 3 exams instead of taking 1. I failed. Back to square zero. Not square one, square zero. Even though I had credit for reg, I was clinging on to that credit. And I knew that I was not going to torture myself for another 3 years. And I had to figure this out, how I'm going to pass 3 exams in 6 months. How I was going to pass 3 exams in 5 months before reg expired. And I said, well, I'm not going to rush myself. So on the left side, well, I'm not going to rush myself. So I really need to take time with the material and learn it. On the right side, well, you do have to rush because NASA's only giving you 5 months before they take your reg credit. So you kind of got to rush. Left side, rushing and cutting corners is what got me here in the first place. I need to figure this out. Right side, I've been taking exams for 3 years now. I know most of this content. I just need to go back and do some more practice. That's what I did. Day in, day out for 5 months. And I regained 3 credits. I started back taking exams in November 2017. And by April 2018, I was done. So that was exciting. Now I just need to figure out how to put it all together. Definitely going to talk about my experience with the CPA exam, some core competencies that are lacking, especially having the mechanics versus concept discussion where people understand how how to open Excel, create a journal entry, upload it to Oracle or QuickBooks or whatever, debit this, credit that, change the date, make sure it's going to the right period, make sure you have a description, all of that. Right? And then there is saying, okay, computer aside, what are we actually doing? What impact are we having on the financial statements by making this entry? I know that you're debiting 403,236 and crediting 200, 120. But what are you really doing? Do you understand what's really happening? Does your source document make sense? Can anybody pick up your entry and your supporting documentation and understand what you're trying to do? I find that a lot of that is lacking, and it's a huge component of career hindrance, is what I call it. I find that a lot of accounting professionals get in their own way simply because they have not taken the time to understand accounting conceptually, not copy paste, none of that. They have not taken the time to understand conceptually what's happening. And then that's a downfall. Talk about the technical component, how important the blueprints are. Talk about drawing on your professional experience to help you make sense of content. If you're an auditor, you might have more of an advantage on the audit section versus somebody who doesn't work in public accounting or an audit, simply because you're seeing this every day. In my case, when I first started studying, I started with FAR because I was a senior accountant working in securitization, a very niche area of finance. And a lot of the FAR content, the financial statement analysis, the bond and debt issuances, the discount and premium amortization, capitalizing versus expensing, different costs. A lot of the core content of FAR was my day-to-day job that I did for almost 5 years. So that content was very familiar to me. So it only made sense for me to start there. And I see a lot where people ask me all the time, candidates ask me all the time, what section should I sit for first? And I tell them, look, eventually you're going to have to pass all of them, right? So eventually you have to pass all of the sections. You have to know all of them, but also a lot of the content builds. So as you go through FAR, for example, and you start to learn about accounts payable, and then you learn about accounts receivable, and then how to use the balance sheet and the income statement, then you go to the audit section and you're testing those same accounts that you just learned about. So you're stacking your knowledge and you're building your expertise that way. So it's likely that content or topics that you're studying for one section is going to be applicable to other sections. Unless you have a specific background, like I mentioned, working in securitization or working in public accounting in the test function, then it really doesn't matter because you have to learn it all. So I find that candidates spend a lot of time stressed and anxious about things that are not even accounting related. My students have been stressed out about things going on at work, things at home. They can't find time to study because they have kids or they're working crazy hours or something like, I don't know if this is what I want to do long term, or it's not even required for my job. So it's never about interestingly, it's never about the content until you get close to exam day. It's always, I'm stressed out at work. I'm not sure how to study, or no, not I'm not. I don't know how to study, but I'm stressed out at work. My kids keep me busy. I can't find the time. It's never like I don't get the statement of cash flows, or I'm not sure how to calculate this or how to interpret this. So there are so many external factors that can get in the way of your success. So that's why I wanted to have this discussion today and address these things, because anywhere you turn, you can Google CPA exam review and you will see a ton of review courses, books, YouTube, and some good stuff out there. As somebody who sat 13 times, I have purchased a part or all of most of the CPA review courses out there. So I have seen some, I have seen how the marketing works and things of that nature. So having seen what I've seen, I realized that there's a focus on study guides and videos and these big topics, but the difference is that you're going to get the same content, and you have to figure out how it works best for you. And what I mean by that is, say for example, you have, if you are actively studying for the CPA exam right now, or you plan to study, raise your hand. Okay. So thank you. Let's say that 10 candidates, 10 CPA candidates are going to sit for the exam. They decide to, and you decide to take BEC first. And all 10 of you go and purchase a review course. Y'all purchase the exact same review course. Y'all are going to take y'all exams on the exact same day. Same day, same time, same testing center. So when it comes to score release, those 10 students who all purchased the same material, took the same exam, same day, same time, same location, you will get 10 different scores. Some people will be highly successful. They pass the exam. Some people might just barely make it and might have a 75. And some people are going to fail for a number of reasons. Obviously, you don't know what's going to be on your exam verbatim. You probably ran out of time. It's possible that you didn't put forth the effort, enough effort, that you cut corners, that there's blocks of content that you skipped over for whatever reason. And out of those 10, those people that failed are going to do one of two things. They're going to pick themselves back up and say, okay, I'm just going to go at it again. Or two, they're going to say, you know what, this is not for me. I'm done. I'm over it. And it's that mental fortitude that I said before is what keeps you going in those moments. Those moments when you don't want to study, when it's just not making sense, when you feel defeated, that's the difference. So the evolution is not just about the content, the blueprints changing. The evolution is more about you changing your mindset and you understanding the effort that's going to be required to not only be successful on the exam, but to become an expert in your field. And if you're not striving for that, what's your motivation? Back to the the conceptual versus the mechanics. This world we live in, we can get robots to do the mechanics. They can't do the analysis though. You need help making sense of that. And that requires a level of expertise that you can only acquire and develop through practice, through study, through research. That's 30 minutes. I'll add some more later.